Welcome to the podcast. I'm Rosa Coelho, your host, lifestyle entrepreneur, health coach, and speaker. I've gone from being in complete overwhelm, burning the candle at both ends, and watching my health, relationships, and business suffer, to creating a life with more joy, ease, and abundance. If you're ready to let go of the overwhelm, reclaim your health, and push past your comfort zone so that you can unleash your next level of success to create a greater impact, then sit back as we delve into conversations as well as bring on guests to share with you tools, knowledge, and real action steps to get you there. Listen in, because you never know when you may hear something that changes everything. Hello, beautiful friend. I hope you're having an amazing day, an incredible week. And I have to say, I have something very cool to share with you. Literally something very cool. We are talking all about cold plunging. It seems to be all the rage on social media lately, and has been really for the last few years. It kind of has these little bouts of time where you kind of see it everywhere for a few months and then it'll go away and then it comes back. But it is definitely something that's been around for a few years. And really, let's be honest, in some cultures, it's been around probably for decades. It's just the timing of this is really perfect because it's absolutely freezing where I am here in northern BC. We have seen temperatures at minus 35. Today was quite funny because I went out and I was like, oh, feels so much warmer. I feel a difference. And then I checked to see what the temperature was, and it was like minus 22. So, you know, you're a northerner when minus 22 is feeling like quite the improvement from minus 35. All right. So I want to talk a little bit about the background of like this ice plunging, what it is exactly, how it became mainstream. And then I am going to touch on the benefits pretty quickly. And then I want to talk about specifically for women and cold plunging, because pretty much most of what we see out there in the health and fitness space is geared towards men. But you know what? This narrative is changing, and it's changing quite a bit. And it's really nice to see is that people are starting to speak about protocols specifically for women. And I've seen this especially like in the fasting community where, again, we will, as women, see the information that's out there. It looks incredible. It looks amazing. We'll do it. We'll get some success. And then something happens where we're either not seeing results or we burn out and we're kind of worse off than when we started. And that's because we usually do it too extreme or time it incorrectly, whatever these protocols are, because they were geared towards men. But like I said, this is changing, which is super awesome. Okay, so let's get to it. Cold plunging. I first heard about this, oh gosh, quite a few years ago now when Wim Hof, I started seeing stuff from Wim Hof and personal trainers on it. Now, Wim Hof is, I would say he's the man that really put it out there, like in the mainstream with personal trainers. He is an entrepreneur, and this whole thing really came about through tragedy, which, you know, sometimes things do come about because someone is trying to help themselves and then it works for them. And so then they want to share those messages and what worked. So Wim Hof, in 95, he lost his wife very sadly and tragically to suicide and left him behind for 4 children. And clearly and obviously he experienced a lot of trauma around that, a lot of depression and grief. And he speaks about how he just needed to feel something different because he needed to stay here on Earth's side for his kids. And so I don't know if he'd been cold plunging before. I think that he had, so I might not have the entire story exact, but this is the main idea. And then he went into a cold lake and he found that it really helped him to just feel a little bit better. And that is one of the things about cold plunge is it does increase your dopamine levels, and it does so for several hours after. So he just found that it started to help him. And so he then started sharing this with the fitness community, or got into the fitness community somehow. And he started putting on these weekends where there's like, he teaches breathing techniques as well to go with it. And so I'd heard about it. I'd never really had the courage to do it, but I thought, oh, it's kind of cool. Like, it sounded really interesting. but I never had the courage to do it. And then what happened for me was during COVID, during that year, I had moved back home to the town that I'm originally from, and things were really difficult. Again, it was the pandemic, and I was very isolated and very down. And a friend of mine who actually lives in Europe, my friend Svanko, bought me this Wim Hof weekend. And because of COVID, it was being done on Zoom. And so because he bought it for me, of course I was going to do it. And I know that he always has my best interest at heart, and that he likely felt like it would help me. And he was right. And so that weekend was interesting because I was like, first of all, I was like, oh gosh, I really don't feel like going and buying bags of ice. Where am I going to do this? Like, clearly I have to do it in the bathtub. And so I remember looking outside, and it must have been January or February because we had a lot of snow. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll just go get snow. And so I literally went and got buckets of snow and filled the tub with water and snow. And that's how I did that plunge. And the way he did it was everyone that was on from many, many countries had these 2 plunges that they had to do at the same time. And so you could see everyone on Zoom. So it was very cool. And so I did it, and I really shocked myself at how calm I felt when I got in, and how amazing I felt once I got out. And I really didn't think that I would be able to do it. And so it was a really great experience. I didn't keep up with the plunging because, one, it's just a pain to fill your tub like that all the time. He does recommend starting with cold showers, but I tell you, I just can't do it. Like, I just cannot turn my lovely spa-like shower. It's not like a spa-like, it's just normal shower. But that's how I feel about showers. Like, it's just such a lovely experience. It's warm and oh, it's so nice. And so to ruin that with cold water, I don't know. I just can't do it. So I've never been able to do the cold shower thing. But this year, going into winter, I was already kind of dreading winter. I do struggle with winter, and as many people do, just the dark nights. And I was like, oh, I really could do with something just to help me to get through this. And it was Black Friday, and I saw a cold plunge for sale for like $100. It was just so inexpensive. And I loved that it was collapsible, meaning that, because I don't want to do this all year round. I want to do it through the winter into the spring. And then in the summer, I'm not going to be buying bags of ice for it. And I think, like anything, it's good to give, your body rest from it. And then you look forward to it again whenever that season comes that you decide to do it again. So I thought, okay, well, this is cool. I'll be able to pack it up. I could put it in my garage, fill it with water and ice, and I won't probably need to add ice to it because my garage is cold enough. And so I got it. Then it arrived, and I was like, whew, okay, what am I going to do? So I decided to approach it in this way. I thought, I'm not going to do a whole 30-day thing. A lot of what I've been hearing was, don't go from zero to hero. You don't have to do like these big, extravagant, like gestures where you're packing it, like making it as cold as you can and staying in for as long as you can. So I knew I wasn't going to do that, but I knew that I had to build a little bit of a routine to it. And I wanted to do it for 2 weeks straight. I thought 2 weeks is a good amount of time. And then from there, I would go down to 3 days a week. The protocol that is out there, and whether it's true or not, I like having some sort of a protocol, because then it just kind of adds a bit of accountability to it. And the protocol is 11 minutes a week. So that would make sense to me. So 3 times a week, 3 or 4 times a week, I could definitely do that. So for 2 weeks, I was going in it for 3 minutes at a time. And it was crazy. The first day I went down, I was excited. I was like, oh, it's cold plunge day. Went in, got those 3 minutes done, came out, forgot how exhilarating and how amazing you feel after. And the idea is you don't go into a hot shower after. There is a whole protocol of hot, cold, but really one of the protocols, and the one that I want to do, is the one where you just warm up naturally, and it feels amazing. You do not feel cold once you get out. Like, I don't ever remember shivering once I'm out. I'm also in the house, so it's not like I'm going outdoors, but I just get dressed as normal and it just feels so good. So that was the first day. Second day, I was like, whoa, I don't really want to go. And I was like, what is this? What is happening in my brain? Why don't I want to go? And I was like, oh, now I know how cold it is. And I just didn't want to do it. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to put this on Instagram, some accountability, then I'll do it. So I did that. got in. The next day, I think I had friends come over. A couple times I've had some friends come over and try it out. That's really fun. I call them my plunge parties. And so that was interesting. And then about 4 or 5 days later, like it just was not getting easier. And I have to admit, it really hasn't. I find the getting in so difficult. It's like this mental boxing. That's what my friend Billy Schwer, who's a world champion boxer, says. Like he does all this motivational speaking now, and he talks about mental boxing and how you have like the negative and the positive in your head. And literally, I remember one time standing next to the plunge and thinking, no one will know if I went in or not. Like, what do I have to prove? And are the benefits even real? There's probably not even benefits. This is probably all made up. And this is what I was saying to myself. And I was like, no, stop, get in. And so I went back in. And again, the second I'm in, literally the second I sit into it, I am 100% fine and feel great and don't find the 3 minutes hard at all. Now, here's the thing. If you're listening already, you don't need to make it to 3 minutes. I have had friends come over and they get to 1 minute and that's what they can handle their first time. And that's awesome. And for some people, it might be 30 seconds. So it's not a contest. It's not one person is better than the other. It all depends on your body and what's going on for you for that day, for that week, what time, like what part of your cycle you're in, how your immune system, and like there's so many things, how your nervous system is. So again, it's not a competition. It's got nothing to do with one person being stronger than another, better than another, or even having more practice, because I could be doing 3 minutes now and do this again in a month's time and find like a minute is what I can do. So you don't want to be forcing yourself to stay in there. It should feel pretty good. One of the other things I learned is that if you stay really still, you actually create like a bit of like a warm sheath around you. So you should actually be moving around a little bit if you kind of want to take it next level. So that's just like an interesting little fact I want to put in there. So that's been my experience so far. It has been really cool. I'm going to share some of the benefits and I'll just go through them quickly. But one of the benefits is it improves your circulation. This really has to do with like your blood vessels constricting and then dilating as you warm up afterwards. It's really great for reducing muscle soreness and inflammation, which makes sense, right? If we have any swelling, if we've hurt ourselves, the first thing we put on our body is ice. It's very good for boosting the immune system. It's great for improving the quality of sleep by regulating our sleep-wake cycle. It's amazing for boosting energy and definitely alertness. I know I definitely feel more alert long after, which is really cool. It enhances skin health. So I don't dunk my head. I don't know that that's a great idea. And maybe you can dunk in quickly, but I don't think that would be a great idea to do that for long. But I do often will put like the cold water on my face and that always feels really good. So it has like a tightening effect for skin. It reduces our stress by activating the parasympathetic nervous system. They say it also burns belly fat by burning brown fat. Now, white fat is the fat that gets stored into energy, but brown fat actually burns calories to produce heat and regulate our body temperature. So that's pretty cool. It helps with anxiety and depression, and studies have actually shown that it's increased dopamine by 250% for hours afterwards. And that's really was the reason I started doing it, was to relieve like that seasonal, I wouldn't say I was depressed, but like that seasonal depression that comes right from lack of light in the winter and all the things. And so it really has helped, and it's been fun to do. So those are just some of the benefits. There's lots of them. And I have to say that I do agree with all of those. I have personally experienced all of those effects that to one degree or another that I mentioned. So it doesn't take long to feel those. So women, here's where it's different. And this is where this needs to be the theme with so many things, not just cold plunging. But as a woman, it's so important for us to start listening to our bodies. So when you're listening to podcasts or you're listening to or reading books or, hearing great information that's out there, start to ask yourself, like, would this be good for me? Would this apply to me? Be honest with yourself. Is this, maybe I could take part of it would work, and maybe this is geared towards men and not necessarily women, and all the things. So like, ask yourself really great questions. But a few things: when you're cold plunging as a woman, you want to do this when you're actually feeling strong and feeling well. You don't want to be doing this if you're feeling really exhausted, if you're feeling really tired, if you're feel like you're coming down with something. You want to avoid doing the cold plunging during that time. A good time to avoid it is also the week before your period. So from ovulation to your period, and then during your period. And again, it's just all about like, where do we want the energy going at that time? And so look, everyone's different. You might do it during that time and feel fine, but listen to your body. And what was I going to say about that? So I want you to really think about, when you go in, listen to how you feel afterwards. So if you're plunging and you come out and that day you're actually feeling really tired, or you can't seem to warm up, something's just not quite right, you don't feel like you got the energy and the benefits from it, chances are that was not a great time to be doing the plunge. So you ask yourself, what was happening for me before I went in? Did I make the right decision to go in? Did I maybe just stay in too long? Was the water like way too cold? So start to ask yourself these questions, really listen, and maybe take some notes. For me so far, I have felt great every time I've gone in, but there have been a couple times where despite having that thing of like, okay, I want to be strong and I want to go in because I told myself I was going to, there have been a couple times where I genuinely was honest with myself and didn't go in because I was feeling exhausted. And in the past, I know that I would have been like, no, I'm just being weak, I'm going to do it. Like, no, there's like a weakness of like, no, I just don't want to feel cold, but I'm feeling really good. So no, on those days I need to force myself to go in because it's going to be worth the benefits. But when it's genuine, like, I'm actually like, I don't have anything to prove. And so if my body's not feeling like it should be going in because it's worn down, then I'm deciding not to go during those times. So that's really important to differentiate between those two things. Like, are we just like trying to get out of something, or are we actually trying to prove something, which isn't good either? So just be really honest with yourself. But I don't want to scare you off cold plunging, because there's the other side where, we don't have to be, we're not like that sensitive as women. We just need to know ourselves, and the benefits are definitely worth it. And I just have had such a good experience with it. And if it sounds like something that you want to try, why not? And if you think you could do a cold shower, start there. Another thing they say is that you're going to want to, if you're going to do it as a regular practice, that you want to change the variables. Like anything, just like working out, our bodies adapt. So eventually I'll go to 4 minutes and leave the temperature the same. I will never go over 5 minutes. I don't think that there's any point to that. And you also want to make sure you're not getting hypothermia. Like, be careful out there. But another thing you can do is go into the water not quite so cold, so that then after a week or two you can bring it down again. So there's all these variables that you can play with so that your body doesn't overly adapt to it. So the other bonus that I have absolutely loved about it is it's really built like my grit, I would say. Like I find that it's helping me in other things. Like when there's certain jobs or certain things that I need to do, and in the past I wouldn't want to do it, I would put them off like for so long. And I do find that I'm like, no, just get it done. Just do it. It'll be worth it. It'll feel great after. And I know that that's coming from the cold plunging. Like, it really is starting to show up in other areas of my life. And I love that. So it's definitely building that grit, that self-confidence, on top of all of those other benefits. So it has for sure been worth it. It was one of those Black Friday purchases that I hadn't planned on buying it that day, but I had planned on buying one eventually. It's nothing fancy. You can see it on my Instagram at RoccoFit, but If you have been cold plunging, let me know. Like, talk to me about your experiences. You can send me a message on Instagram. You can either tag me or you can send me a private message, but let me know, like, have you enjoyed it? Have you had like negative effects? Have you had really positive experience? Are you wanting to do it, but feeling a little like nervous to do it? Like, I want to hear everything from you. So feel free to message me anytime. All right, my friend, I hope that you have enjoyed this episode. Go out there and plunge. Let me know. Either way, have an amazing and strong week.
Thank you so much for listening in today. I know time is precious and I'm grateful you shared yours with me. It would mean the world to me if you felt an impact, a moment of inspiration, or learned something new. If you would share it with those you care about and leave me a review on iTunes. I'd love to know what spoke to you or what you'd like to hear more of. Your sharing and leaving a review would help so much on this journey to making an impact on as many people as possible. It's worth it. I know from experience, there are moments when something we hear has the possibility of changing everything.